Welcome to Achy Breaky Park, the podcast about theme parks hosted by two guys who live nowhere near their favorite theme parks. I'm Eric.
And I'm Noah, and today we're talking about Rafiki's Planet Watch. A weird outlier from the park, both because it's very different in its theming and look, but also an outlier because it literally outlies the park. It is literally far away from the rest of the park.
That's good. That's very good. But about it being an outlier, it really is mysterious and evades description in a way. I have a quote from Touring Plans that it isn't really a land and it's not really an attraction either. I've seen it described as both on both park maps and by people talking about it, and I don't really know how I would define it either. It kind of just exists as its own thing, just outside the realm of the rest of the park.
It also has two names. It's Rafiki's Planet Watch at Conservation Station. So I didn't look too deep into this. It probably would be pretty easy to find, but I think when it initially opened, it was just Conservation Station, and then they added the Rafiki's Planet Watch.
I don't know the timelines on all this. That's the other thing that's kind of weird about Rafiki's Planet Watch, is there isn't a ton of info about this, especially for being an opening day attraction for Disney's Animal Kingdom. There's not really a lot of discussion about how it came to be, what the predecessors are, what led to the development of Rafiki's Planet Watch. So it's hard to say, what led to it being the way that it is today.
If you don't know what Rafiki's Planet Watch is, I'll give a broad overview of the things you can do there, and then we'll dig a little deeper into it.
I think the way that I would describe it, if I had to sum it up in a sentence, is it's the most zoo part of Animal Kingdom.
I was literally going to say that. I was going to wait for what you were going to say, and I was going to say it's the most zoo-like part of Animal Kingdom. It's literally what I had in my brain. It's exactly what it is.
Which, if I'm going to describe it as a weird outlier, it really is, because the whole marketing push behind Animal Kingdom at first was that it's not a zoo. They literally made up this fake African word about it being, not a zoo, and
I think that means something. I think not a zoo is, it means something else, but it also, sounds like English not a zoo. Let me look this up, because I remember that being a thing.
Well, anyway, while you're looking that up, this was the whole, all the commercials for Animal Kingdom, I guess, to distinguish itself from, I don't know if Busch Gardens was open yet, but your regional zoo in any city, Disney's Animal Kingdom wanted to establish itself. This is an animal theme park. It's themed. There are rides, there are attractions, there are shows, and you're in an immersive environment that it's not concrete and you just kind of walk by these exhibits. That instead of walking by an animal, you're actually taking a safari ride and seeing them in recreations of their natural habitats. So in that sense, Disney's Animal Kingdom is not a zoo, but at the same time, an attraction like Rafiki's Planet Watch is very much zoo-like.
I feel like that whole not a zoo thing is also it isn't a zoo in the sense that it has roller coasters in it and themed lands. It's more than that. But also I feel even when you go to Rafiki's Planet Watch, the theming looks like a zoo. Everything about it looks it looks like a higher end zoo. But it seems the sort of style is something I would see at the Toronto Zoo. And I think the thing that sticks out the most in my brain is in the building, the main building where they have the different smaller attractions, they have a mural out there, which is just sort of a mosaic of different animals. And that looks like something I would see at a higher end regional zoo.
It's kind of creepy as shit. I will add that little mural. I never liked it, but
I don't like it. You know what I like even less? When you walk in and they have the other mural and you have to turn the corner.
Yeah.
And they have that rotate that screen that goes it flips over and it shows something else. It just looks like an advertising board. That mural scares me because it's kind of dark in there and it just looks like all these animals are staring at you.
Yeah, giant animal heads staring down at you. And I actually got a picture online. I've never actually witnessed this personally, but one of those murals that you're talking about that's inside there, I'm going to send you a picture of this, Noah, and we can post it on our socials later. But it's just a zookeeper holding an owl surrounded by all these kids. And it definitely feels like something, just the tone of it, the style of the painting looks like something that you would see at a weird religious theme park, or something that you would see in an illustrated children's Bible. That's the vibe that I get from it. It's very youth pastor.
Yeah.
It doesn't fit with the rest of the tone of Animal Kingdom that's very authentic and very immersing you in these natural habitats of these animals.
So all of Animal Kingdom, one of the main things they want is, and Joe Rohde even talks about this, is for to make people passionate about conservation and caring for animals. And the rest of the park does it sort of like subliminally, where you see like all these beautiful animals around in their natural habitat, and you're actually immersed in these like places that have these animals, and you're like, ah, yes, we should protect this because it's so pretty. But I feel like when you go to somewhere like Conservation Station or Rafiki's Planet Watch, it's very much where they're trying to more educate you rather than just do it subliminally. Like when you go there, it's very much about like, this is what we're doing to protect our animals. This is why we should protect animals. And it's the only place where you can actually go and pet animals at the affection section.
This is kind of a weird metaphor to use, but there's a rule in like any kind of writing or screenwriting of like show don't tell. That like it's better to show the action as opposed to just having someone like speak the exposition. I think the rest of Animal Kingdom is the show. They're showing why you should care about the environment and care about these animals. And Rafiki's Planet Watch is the one exception of that. That's the tell. That's just like a sign that says a world of choices versus kind of like getting down to the deep nitty gritty of like why conservation matters.
Yeah, and I feel like that's not to say that this is bad. I feel like it's a necessary part of the park because it's the only place where you can go and look and see like these animals are being taken care of well. And like as far as my knowledge goes, I feel like Animal Kingdom is a glowing example of how you should operate a zoo and how it should be, because that whole park is about caring for the animals. And as far as I see, it looks better. It looks like better than most zoos you would go anywhere around the world.
Yeah, we don't need to get into it, but I'm generally a very pro zoo person. There are definitely exceptions that don't handle it well. But any like AZA accredited institution, American Association of Zoos and Aquariums, I think they do a generally good job of like replicating the habitats, doing all the proper care. And this is like really the evidence to back it up in Animal Kingdom's case.
Yeah, I think when it comes to like when zoos should not be there, it's when they're privately owned by just like some one guy who just has these animals
Your Tiger
in
Kings and
some
stuff like that.
cages. Yeah, your Tiger Kings. But even like the Toronto Zoo is like, I remember, I don't know if this is still true, but I remember when I went on a field trip, they're much more about rehabilitation rather than entertainment. Like they're like, I think Animal Kingdom is also they do a lot of rehabilitation there. And they actually like, did you watch any of the Magic of Disney's Animal Kingdom show on Disney Plus?
I haven't. I should check that out.
I thought it would be more about the park. I thought it was gonna be like, hey, this is how we designed Everest. But it's very much more about like them taking care of the animals. And I can't think of like a lot of specific examples, but you see like how well taken care of these animals are. And like I think one of the animals was having like had like a blister or something, some like oddity on their foot, and they were talking about like how they're inspecting it and gonna get rid of it, and like how these animals get like really well taken care of. And you can see like the cast members who work there, they really care about these animals. Like they had a whole episode, I forget what animal it was, but the whole episode was trying to get this animal to have sex with another one so they could repopulate.
Yeah.
But like,
And that's a huge part of zoos as well, is like rebuilding endangered populations.
you know what I do like, well, you know what else I like about Animal Kingdom is they actually do a good job of like developing a bond between the guests who visit there and the specific animals. Like when they give the animals a name, and then when guests go there, because they'll see it on social media, they know that that tiny gorilla is Baby Grace. Like they know the names of the animals, which I don't think you get at any other zoo on Earth. I thought maybe Toronto Zoo, I knew a few of them because of their social channels. But that's a cool thing I think Animal Kingdom does, and that's a good thing of like developing a bond with these animals and like why you should take care of the other ones who exist in the wild.
Yeah, it definitely does a great job of like really personalizing and developing that like human connection, which I think is important. You touched upon this a little bit earlier, but I think something that people might not necessarily know about zoos, and I don't know if this is true about Animal Kingdom, but a lot of them, like, they're research facilities first and foremost, and like the guest facing aspect of it is really just a fundraising method to like enable them to do all the research and conservation activities that they do. So I think that's the benefit of zoos, and that's something that Rafiki's Planet Watch kind of lives up to as well.
Yeah, and I remember I think it was a one day at Disney special or it was something where they were talking about like how they Disney doesn't only do their conservation stuff at the theme park. Like they were talking about how they were going up to like the California hills and they were tracking some animals or something like that in order to develop some research on how they can better make their area so like this species can prosper. So once Animal Kingdom opened, like they're still doing good stuff. I know that's something Joe Rohde spearheaded, where they're still very much doing conservation stuff, and I think that's a good side effect of animals.
I wonder how much Joe Rohde had to do with Rafiki's Planet Watch, considering it's the one part of Animal Kingdom that doesn't really have his touch. He's such a a traveler and such a collector of cultural artifacts and like recreating these experiences, where Rafiki's Planet Watch is really the one exception to that. So with Animal Kingdom being his baby, I wonder how much he was involved.
Yeah, but I also don't think it needs to be because I think it's more about when you go there. It's supposed to look like a facility. You know what I mean? This is like a place where they're actually taking care of the animals. I feel like theming it to like, because I guess it's technically a part of the Africa section because you take the that's where you get on the train, and I think that's where people say it's from. But like, I feel like if you theme it to that, then like it feels more like it's part of the theme park rather than this is a place where Disney's actually going and taking care of animals.
Yeah, I think the distinction, the visual distinction, is important. I'm going to share an anecdote here from when I was visiting the parks. I think I was 12 at the time, and I remember visiting Animal Kingdom and just feeling like, oh man, like why is this park so shitty? Like why does everything look like it's falling apart? I was 12. I didn't really understand like theming and why it was made to look that way. So when I went to Rafiki's Planet Watch and it was like suddenly like clean, quote unquote, like obviously the whole park is clean, but it's made to look a little bit weathered and aged. I thought it was like a weird like disconnect to kind of see this like really like brightly colored, very bland architecturally speaking, like different kind of building. So there definitely is a disconnect, but I think from what you're saying, like it's a good disconnect to have.
Yeah. It's just good to know that like when you go there you're gonna see something different every time you go there because they have so many animals they're taking care of and they're not gonna be doing the same procedures on them. And it looks like they're actually working there. Like you'll just go in there and people will just be doing their jobs. It's not like they're not it's not like they're there to entertain, you know what I mean?
Have you ever seen anyone working, like a veterinarian working behind the scenes there when you've been?
I only went there once in memory on my program. And I think I saw something, but it's kind of hard to. I didn't think I saw one of the presentations where they like tell you what they're doing. They were sort of just doing stuff.
I don't think I've ever seen anyone actually working there. It's probably just like a luck of the draw thing. It's like the living of with the land, the lab there, like where it's like some people have seen people working backstage, some people haven't. Very elusive. Like, so I was kind of curious, like how much of this is real, how much of it is for show. But as far as I can tell, it's pretty authentic.
Yeah, I think your chances of seeing something there is pretty high if you go.
Yeah, I've definitely seen pictures now when I was doing research for this episode. So I believe that they do actually have stuff going on here. I just haven't maybe seen it for myself personally.
Yeah, but maybe we should get into a little bit of like the overall experience from like start to beginning of what it's like.
Do you want to start with that?
The train?
Yeah, the Wildlife Express train.
So first you get on this train. It's out of Africa. I think it's right by where you get on Kilimanjaro Safari. It's like next door.
Harambe Station.
Harambe Station, yeah. And then you get on, and the train looks super cool. It's like super weathered. It looks like an explorer type train that would go through like mountains and stuff like that.
I can speak a little bit to the design of the train. This was one of the few things there was a lot of information about online. So the original plans for Disney's Animal Kingdom included a train ride through the Savannah area. So kind of what Kilimanjaro safaris became. But for the well-being of the animals, they decided that maybe not the best idea, and instead they diverted that train to go past the care buildings. And that's the way that it is today. When you're taking this journey, you get to pass by like the paddocks and all the like sleeping areas for the animals, kind of backstage, which is interesting to look at in itself, I would say.
Yeah, it's another super cool thing where it's the same thing as when you actually get to Rafiki's Planet Watch and you see the animals being taken care of there. You also see where the animals are being taken care of outside when they're not in this sort of medical facility setting where you get to see where the elephants sleep and you see like how much space they have and how nice this area is.
Because like I guess this isn't a little known fact anymore, but Disney's Animal Kingdom is, even though like the walking area isn't, I don't think, the biggest of any of the parks, it is the biggest park in Disney World just because of all that extra area around the outside for Kilimanjaro safaris and all the care areas.
I think it still is the biggest walking area. I don't have any I think it is.
It's very spread out.
I always think about when I get to the top of Everest and then you look to the side and you see how far away Pandora is. I'm like, whoa.
That's true.
That's far away.
That's true. I guess I'm just thinking of like Epcot because there's a lot of walking in Epcot and like the distance from like Spaceship Earth to the American Adventure.
Yeah, but like that doesn't count because that's like all lagoon there. I feel like that's just one long pathway.
That's true. That's true. Anyway, the train itself, like there are 3 different locomotives. They were all built by Severn Lamb of the UK and designed by George McGuinness, who came out of retirement to do this. And according to Joe Rohde, the vehicles were weathered to create a look for vehicles that would be seen today in Africa and Asia, long after their original use in Europe in the late 1800s. So as you spoke to, like they're very weathered, they're very authentic looking and kind of showing a bit of their age to kind of create that transition from Africa to Rafiki's Planet Watch.
Yeah, that's super cool. I didn't know about that Europe thing.
Yeah, like it's kind of speaking to like the history of the land a little bit. They're actually like there's a date on the side of them that says that the train has been operating since 1926.
Yeah, and the train is I don't know which of the Disneyland railroads is like this, I forget, but it's where you're all facing outwards type deal, where you're all facing one direction. That's also, I don't know how do you feel about those trains at Disneyland and here where it's sort of like directs your attention just forward?
I kind of like it. I think the reason for it here is they want you to see like where the elephants sleep, where the rhinos sleep, and the same thing at Disneyland. It's set up so that you can see like the show scenes, like how they have like little figurines and then like the primeval world diorama. So it makes sense. I think it's kind of like the Omni Mover where like they can point your field of vision in one particular direction.
I like it here, but I have mixed opinions about about having it in Disneyland. Because Disneyland, there's stuff to look at on both sides.
That's true.
But anyways, I like this train ride. It's kind of weird that you have to go on it, and it's a little annoying when you have to go back. But it's a nice break from the park because it's you're literally getting away from the park. You're still in the park, but you're away from it.
And Rafiki's Planet Watch it's never crowded, this area of the park, we should add. I think it's because it's so hidden.
No.
It's a good escape for like the busy part of the day.
And when you see the sign on the outside, you have no indication of what it is. I think a lot of people would go there and they'll be like, oh, train, I have to take a train there? I don't want to do that.
Yeah. Or they might see it and just think it is like a train ride, like a children's, like you go around in a circle kind of thing.
Yeah. Just like around the park.
Yeah.
But once you get there, you get off the station. This also makes it feel like a zoo, but when you go there, you go into the station there, and there's sort of just like the Disney nature movie posters around. Like it looks very like.
I don't remember that.
I remember that, and I watched a walkthrough of it, but they're just sort of like movie posters up, and then you go on this like really nice sort of like it's a longish walk to get to Rafiki's Planet Watch, and it's through like all these bushes, and then you have all these like. You have one nice Rafiki figure, like full-on modeled figure pointing you, but then you just have like painted cardboard flats of Rafiki being like, "Oh, go this way," and you see his like finger pointing out. But it's like cheap, but like good cheap.
It's listed as its own attraction. It's the Habitat Habit, the walking trail from the train to the conservation station, and there's like little exhibits on the way, like mostly very simple, like little cardboard flats, like you said.
It's more like zoo stuff. And just like stuff you see, like they have like a bird, and then they have like a sign about the bird.
Yeah, there's a part that has like cotton top tamarinds and like a little habitat there. I remember like there's like a part where there's like a map of the US and they like list some of the like species that can be found in different places. Little things like that, just very simple like walkthrough exhibits.
We'll probably do other episodes on it, but I love this is something that like before I did my program, and I only went to Disney twice before that. I only went when I was 5 and I was 15. And I always thought Animal Kingdom was my least favorite park. But now, after actually being able to explore it fully, it's probably tied with Magic Kingdom. I always say Magic Kingdom is my favorite just because of like nostalgia reasons and like it's Magic Kingdom. But for Animal Kingdom, that's very close to being my favorite Disney World park. Like it's touching Magic Kingdom right under it. And I think it's also, and I feel like that's because when you go there on vacation, you don't really have the time to appreciate things like the walking trails and like Rafiki's Planet Watch. Because there's so many other walking trails there that are just like nice to walk around. Like if I lived in Florida, I could go to Animal Kingdom just to go for a walk. I wouldn't feel the need to go on any rides. I could just walk around and look at animals, and that would be a perfectly good day.
Yeah, there are like absolutely fantastic hidden gems. Like I don't think I've ever taken the trail around the Tree of Life, but
I didn't know about that till I came back.
like you could really kind of get lost there, and I think that's the whole idea. So
Did you ever do the one where you go see the
yeah,
tigers?
yeah, the trail. There's one in Asia, one in Africa, and they're both absolutely fantastic.
The Asian one's beautiful with all the artwork around it, and like you just see small things. Like this is less a Rafiki's Planet Watch. You don't see this, but I remember seeing just like there's like a barrel with like someone's cup on it, and it was just like someone who was walking through left their cup there, and it was like themed to like an old explorers type cup, and that's cool. Shit like that's cool.
Yeah, I think the one in Asia is also the one that has the bat house or like the aviary,
Oh,
which is
I don't like the bat
oh
house.
no.
I don't like I'll go through it, but I'm like on edge every time I go through like an aviary. I don't like birds.
I don't like the idea that like the birds could touch you. That freaks me out like a
I don't
tiny
like the
little
idea
bit.
that birds. Yeah, can I go on a bat tangent for a second? So I used to work at a amusement park in Toronto, a smaller amusement park in downtown. And one time I was working one of the games. I was working in the basketball game, and a bat flew out from the top and landed on the basketball net. And I'm like, I hop out and I'm like, no, I am not going back in there. Someone was walking by me. I'm like, go get my supervisor because I'm not going back in there. And then they went and they got rid of the bat, but they didn't kill it, as far as I know. But I remember I went back in there and I told my manager, I'm like, I really don't want to go back in there. And they're like, it's fine. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I go back in there and they I think they tried to do a thing where you could put mothballs up there or something like that. And the bats don't like that, so they fly out. But when I was in there, I could hear the bats. Like you can hear them. And it sounds like open electrical wire. Like it sounds like a
It's a little chirping.
yeah, it literally sounds like some like messed up electrical stuff, and I'm like freaking. I'm like I don't like it in there anymore. And I was working at another game, like other side of the park, and a bat flew right by my face. It's the only time I've sworn while I was like working in front of guests.
I'd probably react the same way. Yeah.
I remember one time I was working at I was working at the other games, and a bat flew out, and it just like landed on the ground. I think it was, and it was like it must have been injured because like flopping around on the ground. And this little kid walks up and just stomps on the bat's wing. And I'm like,
Oh
what
my
are you
God,
doing?
no.
I'm like,
No.
I know. I was like, I saw it after. And I'm like, to the kid, I'm like, whoa. I'm like, and thankfully, I think the mom pulled the kid away after. But I'm like, yo, like, why are you doing that?
That's so sad. Have you ever seen a bat's face up close? Like they're like little teddy bears. Like they have like little mouse faces.
Oh, yeah, bats are cute. But I think, remember in the ROM, they had like the fake bat cave?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's also kind of freaky. I don't know. Bats they're just kind of freaky. Like, and my experience with bats, I'm just like, oh no, but they're cool. They're cool here because they're like behind they have like
The chains or something.
sort of like grid,
Yeah.
the chain thing. But can they fly around that building? I think they can.
I think so. I think they have pretty free reign. I don't know how it all works, but
Yeah, but anyways, that's why I'm like, when I go through there, I'm just like walking right on through.
anyway, back to Rafiki's. So once you get through Habitat Habit, I think you're back at Conservation Station, and like you said, like this is really the bulk of what there is to do here. It's that big building with the mural out front, and then next to it is the affection section, which is the petting zoo.
That's a good time. You see the goats. It's mostly goats, right?
I took a couple notes on like what they had there: goats, pigs, sheep, llamas. a pretty like standard mix of like petting zoo type animals. It's neat because you can like you walk into the pen as opposed to like just like sticking your hand through a fence. So you can like really get like a hands-on experience. This is something that also like creeps me out a little bit. I guess I just don't like goats or like looking at them too much with their like weird like sideways eyes. But
I think petting zoos always kind of freaked me out a little. Like, I don't think I ever pet any animals here, but I think if I went back, I'd do it now.
well, it's the thing where like they have like those like gumball machines that are filled with the feed pellets, and you can like stick your hand out. And I never do that because I'm so afraid of getting bit, like or just like the feeling of their
Oh,
tongue.
yeah.
Like I don't want that. So
I'm sure it's fine because they're doing it, but also I just kind of feel bad for these animals. Like, that they just have to have like grimy kids touching them all day.
yeah, yeah.
I'm sure it's fine because it's Animal Kingdom, but
They do have like hand washing stations. I don't know if this is something that's survived COVID or is still open right now, but
I don't think Rafiki's. Oh, is it? I don't think it's open at all right
no,
now.
it was closed for a while. I took a
And then they added something there.
they added something and they also took things away.
Yeah, and I'm very. I didn't know they took these things away until I looked into this, and I don't think what we got was worth what they took away.
Do you want to talk about this? Let's not be cryptic about it.
Okay, let's talk about what they added. So, they added mainly something called the animation experience, which with what essentially was at Hollywood Studios, where you would go there and learn to draw Disney characters, but now it's Disney animals, so essentially the same thing.
Yeah.
And it takes up the entire lobby. It's mainly just like they put like event chairs in this room and 2 event screens, like you were going to some sort of conference. I don't know, it looks kind of lame.
It looks like a convention floor. Like it just the look of it is not fantastic. I didn't expect it to be just out in the open like that. I thought they would have like added a theater or something, or like there was a room off to the side where they could hold it. Because right now it's listed as an attraction, but you could just walk by and watch the tutorial, like even if you're not in the audience. So
But like, I don't know. So what we lost, I don't know if it was a direct correlation for what we lost for this, but what we lost doesn't make sense because what they got rid of here was you can't meet Rafiki anymore. You can't meet Rafiki at Rafiki's Planet Watch anymore. What? You can't meet Doc McStuffins, which okay, whatever.
but I think Doc McStuffins was actually a cute choice too, because all the veterinary
Yeah,
stuff.
Doc McStuffins. I did get a picture with Doc McStuffins when I was there, and I have some stuff to say about Doc McStuffins. But then they got rid of Song of the Rainforest, which is just like off to the side. Like you didn't need to get rid of it. So, do you want to talk about Song of the Rainforest? I feel like we should talk about Song of the Rainforest.
Yeah, I think this is the main thing here that got us talking about Rafiki's Planet Watch. So, Song of the Rainforest, it's one of Disney's many forays into binaural audio, following Sounds Dangerous at Hollywood Studios, and I think they had something with Lincoln over at Disneyland for a while. You get into like these little like sound booths, you put on these like headphones.
Dark sound boost, lights out.
I think they actually turn off the lights when you close the door. Like it's very creepy almost. And you experience the Song of the Rainforest, which is, I think it's Grandmother Willow from Pocahontas. I didn't know it at the time, but I think that's who it is supposed to be.
It is.
And she's talking at you about the rainforest in like her very like gravelly, creepy voice. And like at the same time, you're hearing sounds of like animals in the background.
Very nice, very relaxing.
Suddenly, there's like a chainsaw.
Not nice, not relaxing.
Yeah.
Comes out of nowhere.
And like all this destruction and like chaos going on in the background. And meanwhile, Grandmother Willow's still like talking at you in this like the really upsetting voice, to be frank. Like I never liked it.
The whole thing is very upsetting.
Yeah.
I get why they're doing it. It's supposed to be like, yeah, save the rainforest. But also like, it would have been nice just to go sit in there and listen to rainforest sounds using like this neat technology that was new at the time. I went in not knowing what it was because I did it in 2018 for the first time. And I'm just there with my friend and I go in, I'm like, oh, what's this? And then we go into the room and it's just like you put on a pair of headphones, you press a button, the lights go out, and you just hear rainforest sound. You just hear the rainforest sounds. And I was like, oh, this is nice. And then out of nowhere, you go, and I'm like, oh, not so nice. And like, I feel like it had the opposite effect on me, where I probably shouldn't have, but I think I started laughing because I'm like, it just came out of nowhere, and I'm just listening to nice rainforest sounds. So it's sort of like this wacky thing because it's just like a bunch of booth. It honestly looks like something at the Science Center.
It's very nondescript and very like I can kind of see why they got rid of it, just because I don't know how many people actually went in there.
I feel like nobody knew what it was.
Yeah, nobody knew what it was, and if I didn't have the memory of it as a kid, like I wouldn't be talking about it now. I think what actually happened with it, based on one of the videos that I watched, is they didn't even close it. They just like covered it up. They put like fake plants in front of the doors.
I don't know. I don't know what the need to cover it up is though. It's just keep it going. It probably costs like no money to maintain.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
I guess I did take the note that was like during COVID. It's probably not the best thing that this was before COVID. They closed it though, but it's like I can't see something like this coming back where people just go in and put on headphones from each other. Like that's kind of gross.
Yeah, like those like grimy headphones are probably not great,
and they don't clean them between uses because there's like no cast members manning the thing. It's just you go in on your own. There's like signs saying like in use or not in use, and then you just go in.
It is very much like a science center. Like you just see like the pair of headphones hanging there and put them on.
And it's kind of weird that they do that. I'm just thinking about that now because like think about any other time you wear headphones at like or like a VR headset or something like that at different attractions. Like they clean those things between uses. But they just have these. I guess they do that every at like multiple attractions around the world where you just put on a pair of headphones. But it's kind of grimy.
I'm thinking about like the Best Buy headphones section where it is just like a wall of headphones that you can just put on and listen to. And in our post-COVID world, it's definitely weird to think about a little bit. Yeah. I don't know if that's something that will survive.
Yeah. But this was a neat little attraction. It was cool.
As creepy as it was, I would like to have seen it survived. But yeah, is there anything else that we missed at Conservation Station?
I still wish they kept. I don't know why they had to get rid of Rafiki. He met outside, has nothing to do with the animation experience. It's kind of cool that you go to Rafiki's plan and watch To Meet Rafiki. I think that's the main reason I went there. And then I saw all the other stuff. I was like, oh, I want to go meet Rafiki. And then we went over there. And then like, I don't know, why get rid of that? He didn't even have a designated meeting spot. He met like under a gazebo or something.
I hope that they find a more permanent space for the animation experience, since it's been bumped around so many times since the animation stuff closed at Hollywood Studios. I know it was at the Art of Animation Hotel for a while.
That's a weird place for it. Yeah. I don't know. It looks just lame here. I liked. Have you done the one in Disneyland?
Yeah, I have. I actually like that place with like because they have like the Toy Story, like the Zoetrope outside too.
Yeah, that's like in another room. That's like in a separate attraction. But I like how it's like an actual show there where it looks like you're in like a cartoony version of an animator's workshop.
I think that's what it looked like at Hollywood Studios too, if memory serves me.
Yeah, with the same setup.
They had like the pre-show with Mushu and all that.
Oh yeah, the Mushu pre-show. Oh, that was good. I'm just remembering that now. But anyways, I feel like the space used to be a place where they would bring out animals to get more like one-on-one time with them, like this whole middle section, the middle of the building, because that was just open before, and that's where they would bring out like smaller animals just to like walk around, and you could get like closer encounters with them. And I feel like that's a more enriching experience, even if it's less people can do it, but it's more enriching than just learning to draw Simba.
You still see that around other areas of the park, luckily. Like, I know the area in front of the Tree of Life, they bring, like, macaws and birds out there.
This was, like, that's a specific show they do.
Yeah.
There. But this is just, like, you might be there and they just, I don't know, like, I don't know if this is an animal they would bring up, but, like, oh, look, an anteater.
Yeah, things like that. Like, very, like, small animals they can just kind of carry around.
Yeah, and also, Doc McStuffins being there, that's cute to have there, because she's a doctor. She got her PhD.
She's a veterinarian, isn't she?
Medical doctor. Well,
yeah, she looks after her like stuffed animal toys.
Yeah, but like she still has a medical degree for that. I would assume she can't be doing operations without her medical degree. I wanted to ask her where she got her medical degree when I went to meet her, but I chickened out. I thought that would be funny, but I didn't end up.
Maybe for the best, Noah.
I thought it would be funny. I'm like, are you operating without a license?
This is why we can't have nice things.
Would you have been embarrassed if I did that? Would you have been embarrassed?
I would be. I don't think I was there at the time, but I would definitely have been embarrassed if I was.
Me and Evan were gonna ask Ariel if water's wet, but I think we chickened out every time we did it.
I always freeze up a little bit with characters, especially face characters, where they can actually answer.
Face characters are hard, yeah. Face characters are hard to make jokes with. Whenever I meet a face character, they just have to do all the work. I'm like, oh yeah, for sure.
I know. I feel like the worst guest.
Yeah.
Like,
good day.
I just feel so uncomfortable.
I should be better. I took like a improv class, so I should be able to, but I'm always just so embarrassed. I'm always like, oh. But with fur characters, I can make a lot of jokes more often. I could be like, I could be more playful.
I'm so weird about this. Like,
I'm still a little weird, but I can be slightly
yeah,
more playful.
I think it's something to do with like having worked in the parks and
I feel like as long as you're not an asshole,
yeah.
then you're good.
I know that like because my sister worked in entertainment, like like the fur characters, like they really appreciate it when you do talk to them and give them something to work off of because it's more fun for them.
I just popped in my mind because thinking about like all the great character interactions I had. I remember I wore like a Mickey watch on my program, and it was like Mickey pointing at the time, and I went to meet Mickey in Hollywood Studios, and he pointed to my watch, and I'm like, whoa, that's impressive. Like he noticed that, and that was like what we were talking about. And I'm like, oh my god, that's. I remember I was wearing like a more obvious Donald shirt, like had a bigger Donald on it when I went to like Donald's Dino Bash, and all the characters were like pointing it out. Like Donald was like, I remember the whole thing was Donald was mad that our friend Lauren wasn't wearing a Donald shirt and I was wearing a Donald shirt, and he was like, being like all nice to me and then being
Yeah.
like mean to her because she didn't have a Donald shirt on. Like stuff like that's fun. Or like Daisy like made me kiss her hand when I was there because I was wearing my Donald shirt.
That's why Donald's so great. Like better to meet than Mickey, in my opinion, just because he's so much fun. Like he has that mentality of he's envious of all the other characters. So
Donald and Daisy, when they interact, there should be a place where you can go because at Disneyland they had some great interactions when they would like pass by each other in the front of the park. They should have a permanent meet and greet, like how you can meet Mickey and Minnie together in Animal Kingdom. But there should be a place where you go and meet Donald and Daisy together. That would be a good meet and greet. I don't know. It's kind of weird. There's no real Rafiki stuff here at Rafiki's Planet Watch anymore, besides the little signs of him pointing you where to go.
yeah, the Rafiki thing feels like a side effect of Animal Kingdom opening a few years after Lion King. And hey, we got to put these somewhere.
Yeah, I feel like when you go there, I feel like that's just a thing to lure people there thinking it's going to be like more Disney than it actually is. It's just like a bait and switch. I do think Rafiki's Planet Watch is a great place to go. I don't know if I would go if I was on a full vacation, just because it's sort of a bit of a time commitment and there's other things I'd rather do. But if you have a lot of time, I would say it's 100% worth it.
If you live in the area, for sure. Like as Noah said earlier, like take that time, just walk around the park and like soak in all the trails.
Yeah, especially if you're doing Animal Kingdom. If you have one day at Animal Kingdom, maybe skip it. But if you have like a day and a half even at Animal Kingdom, then go to Rafiki's Planet Watch because it's a cool experience. And since this is our first Animal Kingdom episode, we'll probably do many more. I'll just say it. Don't neglect Animal Kingdom as a half-day park or the worst park just because it opened the latest. Yeah, like the list of attractions is probably the lightest of all. It's maybe equal to Epcot, honestly, at this point.
But I think it's really like made its mark as like a full day park, especially post Pandora opening. Once it started opening later too.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because there's so much to see. My point being, like, when you go to the theme park, not everything is about the attractions. When you go to Animal Kingdom, you can walk around. There's so many trails that you can go on. Like, I would say you have to do both the Asia and Africa trails because they're both beautiful. Like, I could spend a few hours in each of those just doing that. And like, take your time to look at the animals. Like, I spent hardly any time in the Oasis, which is like the whole area before you see the Tree of Life, where you walk up, and even all that. So there's so much to see.
Yeah,
in there.
kind of the park's main street, but it has like all these like winding paths where you can see animals and like walk through caves and all these fun stuff that like I also never took the time to explore. So
you know what, he listens to the podcast, so he'll hear me say this. But you know what my old manager told me about that initially that whole area was supposed to be way more confusing. There was going to be like rope bridges and a lot more winding pathways, but then people were like, I think they did some testing or something where they figured people were too stupid to like figure out where to go because there was no like one pathway. You sort of had to like figure it out, and it's supposed to be like you're actually exploring and going into like the jungle, but they couldn't do that because people would get too confused and they just needed like a direct pathway into the park. But I think that would have been super cool if they had all those winding pathways, the more like exploration in order to get you into the park.
It wouldn't work today when everyone's trying to like get to Flight of Passage and rope drop Flight of Passage as soon as possible.
No. But maybe like they should have had like one direct pathway off to the side, and then like you could also take these multiple pathways that maybe take you into like different lands or something that were near the front
That
of
would
the
be
park.
neat. There's a little bit of that going on. Like if I'm just visualizing in my head, there's like the path to the left, path to the right, and then in between that, there are like kind of crisscrossing paths in between where you can explore a little bit.
I will say, most of the parks, I could close my eyes and I have like a direct correlate because I went so much. I could have like a direct idea of like where things are in relation to each other. Animal Kingdom is the only park where I sort of like remember where things are situated, but I don't remember the pathways to get to different places. And I probably spent the most time in Animal Kingdom. And I feel like that adds to the charm where it is kind of confusing where you have to go in that park. Like, you know the general idea of where you have to go, but there's like multiple routes to get to different places.
Yeah, always. It's an adventure. Well, thanks for coming along for the ride with us on Achy Breaky Park. Stay tuned for new episodes on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
And be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Achy Breaky Park.
If you like the show, feel free to leave us a 5-star review.
And don't forget, it was all started by two guys desperate to go back to their favorite theme parks.